What's going on, Internet? Welcome to nerdlocker.com. We've got this week's comic book reviews here. I'm starting off with Batman Eternal number 10. I love that we've got Professor Pig in this book because he was definitely my favorite villain to come out of the whole Morrison thing. I just thought he was great. I was kind of bummed that we weren't seeing a lot of him kind of after Morrison ended his run, but I'm glad he's back, and I just love that he's a big player in this. We finally see Catwoman and Batman hanging out. And it turns out there's another big player in this game. We don't know who he is. It seems Batman knows who he is, but he's not saying much right now. Every time I read this, though, I keep going back to that preview issue of Batman where it shows like down the line what all of this is going to be. And I really just can't wait to see everything get to that point, to see how everything gets there and how this ends. Because like I said, I mean, we're 10 issues in, but I feel like there's still a lot of moving pieces we haven't seen yet. I can't wait to see what else this series has. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey guys, this week I got to check out Deadpool number 30 featuring Dazzler, but not in her current form because her and Deadpool are on the rocks right now. So he goes back in time, thanks to whatever's going on right now in Original Sin, and grabs the OG Dazzler in her full disco getup, which is excellent. I thought this issue was really fun. Gary Dugan and Brian Posehn team up on the writing, and John Lucas and Val Staples are doing the artwork together. This book was excellent. It really came together well. The reason he needed Dazzler was so that he could come back to the present and fight out these really badass vampires, Nosferatu-style vampires, which were cool. And they had little nests everywhere holding on to humans and kind of like just sucking their blood constantly, and building their nests bigger and bigger with this new brand of Dracula's vampires. Excellent story in this book. I want to read the next one. I haven't read Deadpool in a couple issues, but it's great. You can pick up this issue not knowing much, and it's still just as good, and Brian Posehn on it is making it 10 times funnier. You get the gag me with the spoon, original Dazzler lines, which are great. So I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Check it out.
Hey there guys, Cubby here with my reviews for this week. I got to do New Avengers number 19, which is an Original Sin tie-in. I don't know if you guys are following the story right now, but it is crazy. Like, it's actually a lot of questions are being raised. A lot of things could be going on. I've actually been having a few conversations with people, and we have no idea what's going on, which is cool to see an event do that instead of being predictable, like always. But either way, New Avengers, a lot of crazy things have been happening. This has been dealing mainly with the Illuminati, and we're still doing that. But this is more of kind of like the after effects of everyone kind of figuring out what's going on, trying to pick up the pieces and things like that. And they're still dealing with the alternate, I think it's Earth 2 million something. And it's essentially the Justice League that they're fighting with or against or helping out, or who knows what the hell's going on at this point anymore. But I like the dilemma that they have to keep presenting in this book. I like the moral dilemma that they're dealing with and the way they're trying to move through stuff, and certain characters are very easily going towards that direction, that they want to do that. I think that's a good thing for those people to be doing that, because of course they would be. They're diplomatic leaders, and there's other dudes on the Illuminati team that are not diplomatic leaders at all. They're leaders, but they're not diplomatic. They do things the way they want them to be done and the way they feel they need to be done, which is so sweet and at the same time so stupid. But still, a great read, a great book, and a great tie-in to this whole series. I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey there, nerds. Jim here with my comic book reviews this week. And first up, we have Archer and Armstrong, number 21, and they are still stuck in Hotel California. And this is a trip. They're still, searching around, and they're running into some awesome characters. I mean, we're talking about Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, and come to realize that the place where they are, the Wheel of Aten, essentially used its power of worship on celebrities. And they show a scene where a celebrity from the early theater, 1900s, is about to be released and go off because his last fan died. The last person that remembered who he was died. And it's like, wow, what an interesting concept. So they use this wheel to essentially trap celebrities, and they are remembered and trapped here forever until nobody remembers who they are. And it's really interesting because you also see Jackie Onassis's in there, JFK's in there, Marilyn Monroe's in there, just a whole bunch of dead famous celebrities. And the only one that seems to be able to get out on a regular basis, and this also goes with nice urban legend, is Elvis. He seems to get out, people see him around, but then they always bring him back in. I thought that was kind of funny. So we're still searching around. There's a really nice twist with Mary Maria, who we haven't seen in a while, and I really like that. And it brings the family thing back together, which is the whole purpose why they're there, is Archer's looking for his mom. So I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's a little crazy, a little off the wall. I like how they're really thinking outside the box in this. I think Fred Van Lent did a fantastic job writing it. I highly recommend this. I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, guys, I got to read Future's End number 6. We can see more of Lois Lane confronting Tim Drake, who's been pretending to be someone else since he died in the big war that happens with, I'm assuming at this point, Earth 2, because that's kind of what all this is leading to. Still a little slower, especially the Terry McGinnis story. Really started off fast with that, and now it's kind of taken the back burner to everything else. I'm loving Frankenstein, though. Like I said, one of my favorite characters. Love that he's going to be involved in this in a big way. I kind of don't like what they've done with Ray Palmer. Made him this like nervous and jerky kind of scientist. Like, I like the Atom, and that's what I'm used to. So I don't know, maybe there's something that happens that we don't know about because this is 5 years in the future. I'm going to keep reading, but I'm kind of hoping this picks up the pace. I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey guys, Manifest Destiny number 7 comes out this week. As you know, this is one of my favorite indie titles coming out right now by Chris Dingus and inks by Matthew Roberts. This book is excellent. The continued adventures of Lewis and Clark with this book, where they are basically trying to collect themselves after and keep their crew together, keep their hopes up and everything like that in this new world that they found, these new creatures that they found, and of course all of their team members that have died so far or kind of turned into plant creatures, actually. This book just gets better and better, and in this issue, they're kind of like sailing along on the river, and they get stuck somewhere. They go to look what's underneath, and they are quite surprised at what it is, and a creature comes out much bigger than you expected, and don't think that this cover will lead you to believe anything. It actually is much different than what they're setting you up for. And the last page really got me interested. So I'm looking forward to this book. As always, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Read it out.
All right, guys, so I get to read Original Sins, number 1 of 5 as well. And I did not expect this to be a bunch of short stories. I probably should have read Solicitations a little more, but ever since Solicitations spoiled every book I ever read, I stopped doing that, so my bad. But either way, it was actually really good. It was actually really interesting. I love the new Avengers. They have a good story dealing with them right in the middle of it, but it starts off with the new Deathlock story. Sorry, I got really excited about that because I thought that was news. But either way, Deathlock has like a new story coming out, new series. It's kind of like the beginning of it, and it actually was pretty interesting and cool. I do feel like it's pretty much the bigwigs saying, hey, we got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and we got this character, we got to do this, dude. But as long as they handle it correctly, and I think with the big story going on right now, I think they can do that. I'm really excited to see what happens. Other than that, it kind of goes a little serious and then a little less serious, and then you get a lockjaw story at the end that's like 2 pages. Reminds me of an old Chris Giarusso mini Marvels, or Giarusso, sorry. But either way, it reminds me of just something really light and funny and clever to kind of lighten up the mood a little bit. So overall, it was pretty decent. It wasn't too bad. I wouldn't completely spend all my money on it, but it was still pretty good if you want to get a little more insight into what's going on in Original Sin. So I would give it 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls and suggest that you might look at it later.
So I also got to read Bloodshot in the Hardcore, number 23. All hell is breaking loose, and it's fantastic. They're basically scooping up Bloodshot off the pavement with little shovels. I mean, he is gone. There's one reference where, hey, where's his bottom half? We got to try and put it back together. It's awesome. Bloodshot got his butt kicked. But it's fantastic because it opens up with Kozl trying to explain to Project Rising Spirit what the hell happened. And he does a little flashback where he tells what happened. And it's clear there's some dissension among the hardcore members. and it leads to more Bloodshot, which, how could you not love that? I love the action in this book. I love the character Bloodshot. I really wish I had jumped on this earlier. I'm so thankful for the crossover that happened between that and Archer and Armstrong. So I highly recommend this book. I'm going to go ahead and give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, I got to read Infinity Man and the Forever People, which is a book, the new DC book, that takes a look at the new gods of New Genesis. And I love these characters. I always have. I love Apocalypse and New Genesis. I love that history of everything. And we briefly kind of saw the new gods in Wonder Woman. But I just feel like they never get the attention they deserve from DC. It's always kind of handed off to just some writer and some artist. And I mean, right now I know it's Dan DiDio and Keith Giffen, but I just don't see this lasting as something. I feel like this is just going to die out, and it really disappoints me. I'm hoping maybe DC just takes these kind of side characters a little more seriously, maybe give them to bigger guns, and see how big we can get, this going. Because I really like these kind of series. I just don't see this sticking around for too long. I'll give it a shot. I'm pick it up. Let me know what you guys thought, but I'm giving it 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, guys, so I got to read Star Wars number 17 as well this week. And I always say this when I read this book or when I review it, but this is one of my favorite books, dealing with characters I already know and love, just because they push those characters to places I didn't think they could go. I mean, I kind of did, but haven't seen it yet. And it's like, oh, you're seeing it in comic book form. And it's really cool. And pretty much all the things that have been going on with Leia and her marriage pact, and they're kind of getting turned on their heads, and everything's going to shit because the Empire's showing up pretty much. So that's always sweet, and that's always kind of expected to happen, especially in this crazy Star Wars universe. But they deal with it like they do because they're rebel badasses, and they ain't gonna let no Empire walk all over them, especially since Darth Vader's not there because he's on timeout from the Emperor. So yes, it was pretty much just a win-win-win-win if you're a fan of Rebels. But of course, this being Star Wars and a huge time gap in between, I think there's going to be a couple more defeats on that side. But either way, it was a good read and a great story, and a lot of the characters in it were done really well. Even the characters that you're not really used to all that much. Mon Mothma, the prince dude that Leia was supposed to marry, he was actually a pretty cool guy. Other than that, pretty good story, and I highly suggest everyone get on top of this book. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
So this week I actually got to read 3 Valiant books, and as you know, I'm a huge fan of Valiant and what they've done with their relaunch. This one is a new book. It's Armor Hunters #1. I really like the teaser they've done with it. I like the idea, the concept of what I thought they were going to do. First book sort of starts a little slow, and it almost made me nervous that we're getting into this Wolverine thing where Marvel loves Wolverine, so we're going to put him in every freaking book and story. And I kind of felt that way with X-O Manowar Eric, in that, okay, we have his own book, we have Unity, and now we have Armor Hunters. And I'm just a little nervous. Now, Robert Venditti is writing it, and I'm a big fan of him. I really think he's done great. We actually have an interview of him from last year's Comic-Con on the website, so go check that out. I do like the characters we've seen so far with Quartz and Ginger. I really like this concept that when they attack, and it opens up with they're attacking a Russian installation because they think that that's where the armor is hidden, and they shoot, and the people die, but then they go like binary, and it's really cool. I like how they did that on the page. That was really fun to see. But my concern is, again, that are we overexposing Eric and X-O Manowar? That's really my only concern. I like how we're getting to the fact that obviously these invaders, peacekeepers, we don't really know, want the armor back, and they're saying that the armor could totally destroy the planet, but ironically, they have no problem destroying the planet to try and get the armor back. So it's like, okay, who cares if you're just going to destroy the planet anyway, or the armor's going to do it? At least Eric seems to be doing the right thing. And it's also cool the way the U.S. government is going to Eric again after everything they did before, and even the pact they made with Unity. I really do like the intrigue. I'm just, again, a little nervous. Again, it's just a first issue, so I think they're going to build on it. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with it, though. So I'm going to give this one 3.5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, I got to read Superboy number 32. Now, I didn't really read much of Superboy at the beginning of the New 52 stuff because I was a huge fan of Connor Kent, and I didn't like that they just kind of took away all that history and all that, the Teen Titans history with Tim Drake and just the friendship they had and everything. It really kind of bummed me out that we started over. I know recently in Teen Titans there was some sort of switch where we have John Kent, who's Superboy, who's like the son of Superman and Lois Lane from the future, and he's a murderer, and now he's in place of Khan. I don't know. I just feel like this character got a little too all over the place out of nowhere. This is an interesting new take on it, having him as Superboy and just seeing what his whole dilemma is. I picked up 31 just to read it because I heard that was kind of like the new #1 for this series. And it's not terrible, but it's not what I want out of Superboy. And that is just me being nostalgic. I like Connor. I miss that about that character, and this one was kind of the ones that dug deep, the whole Teen Titans and everything that they redid with the New 52. So just on my love for that alone and not being able to let go, I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. But let me know what you guys thought.
So I got to read Uncanny XMen Special, #1 of 3. Man, this was goofy, funny. It focuses on Cyclops' team and the kids he's recruited. And it's interesting because the kids are sort of questioning what's happened to some of the prior students at Xavier that have been come through the program. And it's funny because they reference magic because they're looking at a picture and she comes in and is like, what are you doing? And some people are not so lucky. Oh, did they all die? She's like, no, I'm talking to me. And it's like, man, that's interesting. That's a great flashback. Nice reference. But back to the story. Scott's taking the kids up in the Blackbird and flying around, basically teaching them simple stuff, but out of nowhere they get attacked. And you have, headhunters, they take Cyclops, it's the only one they want, take him back, and it's hilarious to me because they got the wrong Summers brother. And the headhunters will be like, we don't care, we got one, here you go, take him. And they basically rob the dude. And he's like, you got the wrong one, I didn't want this guy, I wanted the other one. I thought that was funny. It's a reference. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what this story's about. But then we get up to the Galactic Police, and 2 of the X-Men, basically the students sneak in and fumble around trying to figure out who exactly kidnapped Scott. And all of a sudden, Iron Man's there. Now, it wasn't a huge surprise because he was on the cover, but you're like, what is going on here? And he's like, hey, do you mind if I tag along? And it just felt a little goofy there at the end, and that made me nervous how this story is going to go. So I'm curious, at the same time I'm nervous. I'm going to go ahead and just give it 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls, but I definitely think it has ways to go.
All right, I got to read Detective Comics #32. This book is awesome, and what I love about it is it's getting back to detective. It's a detective book. We have Batman and Robin. Well, there's the Batman books where you see Batman being a badass and still doing some detective work, but this is really focusing on a certain case and just one aspect of Batman. And that's what I really love about the character, and that's what I love when you get these books into really good hands. I mean, John Layman did an incredible job, and I loved his run. But like I said, I like that we're back to like just a key detective story, and the artwork is absolutely beautiful. I mean, on that alone, you should be picking this up. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
So I also got to read from Image, Real Heroes #3. I've enjoyed this book. I love movies, and I like the concept of movie actors who play superheroes going into a different world, and all of a sudden they are the superheroes. I like that. I think that's a fun idea. In this one, it takes off right where we left off, where the mutant came in, accidentally smashed a bunch of the heroes off the ship, and they're all still falling. And some of them realize their powers, and some of them don't, but they're still saved. And we later learn that it's not necessarily the individual that has the power, it's the suit that has the power. So all these people that were actors in our world now have powers because of the suit. And we're also learning some of the differences that maybe the things that happened in the movie really did happen in this alternate universe. Specifically, they referenced a scene where in a movie, the brain dudes shrunk down Chicago. And they're wondering, did that happen in this alternate universe? Or did it just never happen and only happen in the movie? It's an interesting quandary. I like that. I was a little disappointed with the length of time we had dealing with falling from the ship, and it felt like it lasted a long time. It's like I want to get more answers, get into this. but I understand because the characters themselves are trying to understand what their powers are and what this world is. I'm a little lukewarm on this issue. I think it can go places, but again, this is issue 3, so I think they're setting up for a bigger story. It looks like we're going to have some intrigue and backstabbing, which I do like. They do some things in here where you're like, there's no way the bad guy is now the good guy, so we'll see. I recommend picking it up because it is a fun story. I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.